Everybody. Hola, ¿cómo estás? All right, it's good to see you guys. If you don't know, my name is Pastor Chris. We just got back from Honduras, so super grateful for that opportunity, grateful for your prayers and support. And tonight's going to look a little different, so we're going to hear from our Honduras mission team. But just want to go over a few announcements. Just a reminder that we do have our summer camps that are up and scheduled. So you'll see the dates for that, July 26th and 28th, and it's not to January because that's a long trip. I don't know. You might be able to find a camp, but not this camp for that long. However, it's July 26th to the 28th, and that's going to be at Ridgecrest. That's for our 3rd through 6th graders. So register for that. And then we have our camp for our older students, and that's July 1st through the 6th. We have seen just some neat growth during camp. Camp is a great opportunity to be stretched beyond some of your comfort zones, to be challenged to do things physically, and also to go deeper spiritually, to connect more intimately with friends and people that maybe you haven't gotten the chance to connect with in church and in different relationships. So I just want to challenge you guys to sign up for camp if those dates work for you and with your parents' permission. And as always, there is scholarships that are available. So just want to make you aware of those opportunities and those dates. It is a great time. The older camp students, we're just over in Andrews, North Carolina. And then our younger camp, they're just over in Asheville. Is that correct, Kelly? Asheville, that's at Ridgecrest. So awesome, 2 awesome camps, great opportunities. And if you need more information, you can see myself or Kelly or one of the pastors or staff, okay? Any questions about that? Preguntas? Nope. All right. So the next thing, remember, every Thursday morning we have a high school girls devotional at Crabtree. So that's every Thursday morning starting at 7 a.m. sharp. Not really. It's a loose start. But starting at 7 a.m. and then they give you enough time to get to class. And then guys, for high school, that's Friday morning at 7 a.m. at Crabtree's as well. And that's that room there within Crabtree's. So just want to make you aware of those opportunities. Would love to see you there. If you haven't tried it out, please do. And yeah, we're just grateful for that. Grateful for y'all. Grateful. Anybody grateful? Yes, amen. All right, God is good. We're going to hear about some neat opportunities. We're going to hear about how God has moved in lives, but I want to read the verse, maybe the mission verse of Sparrow, and just a little bit, just a small little overview of Sparrow. But they have a verse that comes out of the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, and it's verse 6. It says, "Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 cents, yet not one of them is forgotten before God." And it's this thought that what they use in their mission and their vision is to really reach the individuals and people that feel forgotten, that feel like nobody loves them, that nobody's there to support them. And so with Sparrow, we got to serve. They have a school. It's called Sparrow Academy. And that's the 2 children that we sponsor, Cynthia and Eric. They both are at Sparrow. And then my family, we sponsor Eileen. And so they're there, which is a cool opportunity to be able to sponsor a child and go and see them, get reports and updates. But Sparrow Academy has roughly 230 students. And they all come out of Rancho. And these students in Rancho Bonito is a name that they renamed what was once called the slums or the Bordos. It's where just real poverty. You'll see the houses. They're made up of metal, of scrap wood, of scrap metal, whatever they can find. And they make, and some of them have some cinder blocks and such, but wood and scrap metal. And really like a dirt floor and very minimal. But these kids maybe have the opportunity to go to school, but what they were seeing in the community, so first they tried to raise money, send them to school, make sure they had a backpack, notebook, and things like that. But then they were always outcasted. They were mistreated by teachers, by classmates, and really weren't given the same opportunity. And so what happened from all this and the vision was they ended up having their own school. And then those kids get bussed in, they go into their community, and they load up the bus, and they bring them to school. And also within the community, you'll see a blue building, and that's their kindergarten class. And so they're starting to see the cycle of poverty broken. They're starting to see those graduating college and becoming teachers and making a life, sustainable life for themselves and giving back to the community. And so we got to serve there. We also got to go to the asilo, which is the nursing home. And how they described it is that a lot of times they get elderly and they can't take care of them, so they drop them off and then they're forgotten. Family does it very rarely that the family comes in and visits them. And so we got to serve with those in the asilo. And then there was the Vita, and Vita is for a men's rehab clinic. And so those who are struggling with addiction, with alcohol, with drug addiction, they checked themselves in, which was really neat. And so they understood they had an addiction. They understood they needed help, and they checked themselves in. They can also check themselves out. But we had that opportunity to go there, and then to see Peña. And Peña is a part of the community that once was controlled by a different gang. And so it was very divided, but then that gang left through prayer and through just the presence of the gospel and through God's provision. And so there's more unity, and now they continue to go further into the community and are being able to reach further. And so we have been some of the first ones to go and to help minister with them to a new part of the community in Peña. And then there is the hospital. And so it's a public hospital. And we'll hear a little bit more about that too. It's not like our public hospitals. I'm sure someone will share. If not, we'll connect those dots. But the focus and really the core was, hey, every time we're with these children or we're with these men or we're with these individuals, the elderly, those in the hospital, share the gospel. And so this opportunity that we had was super gospel centered, which is always on our mission field. But this time we got to see a greater variety of just the people that they're ministering to and they're reaching the gospel with. And we're excited to share. So if you were on that team, I'm going to ask you to come on up. And I'm not going to make you share. I'm going to highly encourage you to share, but I won't make you share. But we had an opportunity to minister. It ended up being 27 of our 30 that got to go. Had some other circumstances, God knows why. But we had 30 that got to go. 27. And it ended up being just a really rich time. We're excited for just that opportunity. We've been blessed. And we hope that we, as we just testify of God working in the lives there and also in our lives, we hope that it will be an encouragement to each and every one of y'all. So those that prayed, those that supported, that gave supplies, thank you so much. It really, I know there's a large group that made skirts and dresses and things like that. It was every little thing that we got to hand out. Y'all were a part of that, and we're just grateful to be a part of a church that sends, that believes in missions, and has given us these opportunities. So, I have an arsenal of microphones. So, you guys are in luck. You can, so one thing we did during the week at night, we did pow, wow, chow, okay? Everybody say that. Pow, wow, chow. All right, that was weak. Do it again. Pow, wow, chow. All right, that's getting better. One more time. Pow, wow, chow. All right, I knew I had kids in here. Sweet. All right, so pow was a hard thing. Maybe there's a difficult moment. Maybe it's something that made you sad, or maybe it was just like, my pizza fell on the floor, whatever. So pow was a difficult moment in the day. Your wow was your high. Sometimes we do highs and lows, so it was your high moment. It was a good moment. And then chow was your favorite food. So it got us all talking. We got to talk about the day. And so Miss Jean's going to start us off because she requested it. Yeah, some of our team is home not feeling the greatest. So we can be in prayer for that. But we really have had a good time. And so I've encouraged them to at least share a wow, so a highlight. But you can share pow, wow, chow. But cool. Thank you.
Well, this is my pow. I guess my pow was some of the sadness that occurred while we were down there, and I didn't even know it. One of the wows. Do you want me to stand up, Chris? No. Whatever you want to do. I like sitting down. I'm sorry. I'm old and lazy. One of the wonderful wows, and I'll start with that first, was our wonderful group of youth and young people that were on the trip. They never seemed to run out of energy. I think that's why some of them are dragging right now. They just used it all up and are totally spent. And that was a wonderful thing to see. You'd been so proud of them if you'd been there. I got a note from Alicia. Alicia is Pastor Chris Weeks' wife, and they were the people that kind of ran the whole show. He's the pastor of the little church right there, and they have a wonderful ministry going on, and Alicia and I have gotten close over the years. Once I gave her some money. She had talked about needing some special kind of medication for one of her sons, a Honduran boy that they've adopted. And he needed to get this medication right away because of his growth plates getting to a point where he couldn't have it. It wouldn't do him any good, and he wouldn't be able to take it. So I had forgotten about it, and she mentioned it. I said, oh, I have some money that I want to give you now for one of those moments when you see a family that needs something, and you know what they need. We don't know what they need. And I gave her this money. And she told me right away, she said, well, this morning I had to give some money. We had a mother come in with her son. Her son goes to school here, and she had been beaten up terribly by her husband, who left them and sold everything they had to buy some more alcohol. And her face was all beat up, and it looked terrible. And he said, I told another woman from our group to go and buy them some groceries so they'd have something to eat. for the weekend. And of course, this was right before we left to come back. And so here she says, "Hi, Jean. It's Alicia from Honduras. I wanted to write you to tell you this morning to let you know what happened about the $47 you left with me. We used 30 of it to buy those groceries, but I still had 17 waiting to see what God had planned for it. This morning, one of our students came to school saying she had bronchitis and she can't afford the medicine. So I went to buy it. It was $16.93. How cool is God?" And then she said, "Thank you so much for entrusting your money with me to use for blessing our sweet sparrows in need." And I'm just so moved, and I don't know why I'm surprised how God works so carefully, even with numbers like these. I said, "Thanks so much, Alicia. I think that I'll use that as we share about our trip tonight. The perfect time, the perfect amount. God is good. I don't know why I continue being surprised when this happens." In other words, that God has a plan for it if we are only just willing to try to just let go and let him lead. And I'm the kind of person that often wants to kind of be in charge of my own stuff and, have control and stuff, and it's hard for me to give it up. But that was a big wow for me to see just once again how God works in such mysterious and interesting ways to help others and give us a chance to serve others for him. And I don't think there was something else I wanted to say. I know there was. Did anybody tell you how hot it was? Alicia told me that on her car is modern enough to have that kind of a temperature readout, was 109 on Wednesday. It was a little warm. But we managed, didn't we? Anyway, thank you.
Hi. So this was my second trip to Honduras. We didn't do the powwow chow the last time we went, but we went with Upper 90s that time. But I really thought it was a really neat thing to do, so I'm going to share my POW with you. Most of you know that I work in the medical field, and we had the privilege of going to the local hospital and just learning how things work there. You don't get medication if you don't have the money for it, or if you have to have surgery, you don't get that surgery if you can't go get the supplies for it right now. So over there, if you are in the hospital, you have to have a family member outside in the parking lot or somewhere on the grounds to act as a runner. So if you need medication or any kind of supplies whatsoever, they have your family member go get it. And I was fortunate because I was sent to the maternity ward, and so I didn't get to see a lot of the things that other people saw. But I know that they told us about this one guy that had something wrong with his leg. I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe he had broken his leg. And when he was asked how they could pray for him, he just pulled back the bandage and showed them his wound, which was full of infection. And I think if I understood right, or if I heard right, he'd been in there for 2 months like that without being able to get his leg fixed because his family couldn't afford the medication or the surgery. So I just know if he doesn't get that leg fixed, chances are he's going to end up getting sepsis, which could be deadly, or he could end up losing his leg, which isn't a good thing either. But I think about how things are here for us, and I've been one of them that complains about how expensive our health care is and things like that. But I have to realize that it's costly, but at least we get the care that we need when we need it, whether we have the money right then for it or not. We are privileged to get to be on a payment plan, to pay it down the road, to be able to get the care that we need, So that was probably my biggest POW right there. I did have the privilege of praying over the 3 new mamas and their tiny little newborns when we went to the hospital, and that was a blessing. And then there was another mama who I prayed with who had gone to a different hospital and had to have a C-section. And then after her C-section, she was sent to this hospital where we went to recover, but separated from her baby because her baby had to stay behind. And it's just different things like that we heard that just felt so hard, It just makes you more grateful and more thankful and humble. Like, we're not any more special than those people are, but we have it a whole lot better than those people do. Yeah, that was my biggest POW there. My wow was just like seeing the young people like this one here, just they would do devotions or lead a group of young ones and tell them about Jesus, and they did really good. They did so good. I was so proud of them and the work that God is doing in them. So that was really, her head's gonna get big. But they all did really good. They all did. And my chow, because I'm going to go there. When we were at one of the little, what was the name of the little school? Yeah, the Amazing Grace Church. I was trying to think of the Spanish name, which was the hardest thing to do. Yes, thank you. When we were there, I managed to get my hands on an empanada, which was really good, and they were actually feeding those to the kids, but somehow somebody gave me a plate. Where's Nick at? Nick's not here.
Still sick.
Nick, somebody kept giving Nick empanadas, and then Nick gave me one, and it was really good. And a couple days later, I found out that they have a big tank in their kitchen there, and there's a big fish in it, this long, and that water that the fish swims around in and poops in is the same water that they wash their dishes in. But it was still a good empanada, even with that. So what can I say? So there you go. And I do want to say thank you to everybody that contributed and donated and made it possible for me to go. I really appreciate that.
Well, I'm Jeff, and the trip was absolutely amazing, and I'll probably go with like the POW thing. As far as the POW, I don't know if there was a lot. Well, there's a lot of, like the living conditions and all that kind of stuff. But personally, the POW, the airplane ride and things like that. But one of the amazing things was working with the team and these young guys, and how it seems like everybody was so in tune, and God was just working through everybody, and everybody's a team, but all the different things that were going on, and everybody was doing their different things, and just how it all flowed so nice, and how the different things took place, and it was just so inspiring to see and be there and be a part of that. And we went to the hospital, and I was in like the group that visited the kids, and we're visiting some of the different kids. And one of the cool things is Case in there was in there with us, and we got talking to these two boys, and we're trying to strike up conversations, find out what happened to their arm, and then we're trying to share the gospel, so we're trying to think of something like that. Well, Kason pops up, and he wants to explain like the 3 circles, and so we spend time, and he talks to the boys, and they just loved it, and it was just so inspiring to see some of these guys, the way they worked with other people and with the kids there at the hospital and stuff, and there were several different things like that happened throughout the whole week, how things just kind of fell into place, but my big wow. So I didn't even know I was going to go until like 6 or 7 days before. Some people got some problems and wasn't able to go, and we were at dinner with Gene and Vern, and something came up, and next thing I know, I'm in the office with Chris, signing papers and getting copies of my passport. Well, sorry, dry throat. My background, like 40 years ago, I had some alcohol issues and problems, and things got really rough when I was young, around 25 years old. I kind of hit a rock bottom, and then my life's changed from there. And then it's really changed when I got to Cowie a couple of years ago. Things just happened here that's just brought me more out of my shell. I was able to understand more of the gospel and what it means to surrender and turn your life over to God. And so the last 2 years, just being here with this group and with Cowie, and then finding out that I got to go with this mission trip, and it's just been a life-changing experience, for me, and how everything fell into place. And we got to go to the Vita, which is the rehab center, with the men. So not knowing I was going, but I'm in a D group and with the Bible study here at the Cowie and everything else. I've been working on a testimony and different things like that. And then when we get there, and then they say, can you do a testimony? And I'd already been spending a lot of time working on something like that. And so we get there, and I was able to share my testimony, and there was, 15, 20 guys maybe, and towards after my testimony, Jason spoke with them, and there was at least 8, I believe, that surrendered and turned their life over to God, and that was really, really good. And so the way he works with me, he didn't let me know way in advance that I was going. Otherwise, I would have messed the whole thing up. My plan would have not been how it went at all. But the way it went, it couldn't have went better, I don't think. It just, everything just fell into place. And the biggest wow, I think, is we're all in the hot van, packed in. I don't know, there's 8, 10, 12 of us in these vans, and we're driving. And somebody says, well, let's share our testimonies. So everybody in the van, we went around, and everybody shared their testimonies. And it was the best, hottest ride home of the whole time, but it was just so everything, the life of everybody over there, the Sparrow crew, the guys over there were just, I mean, they say that they're family. They are family. I mean, the guys I met over there, it's just, it's hard to describe how loving and how we all connected so well and functioned together, you know, chaotically, but so spot on. I mean, there's probably stories that we could all tell for the next 2 months and still not cover all the things that God was at work in us doing, you know. Every one of us. I mean, there wasn't one of us that God wasn't working through all the time, the whole time we was there. 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock every day. We were just, everything was happening all the time. And you could just see God at work with these kids, with our translators. Oh my gosh. We ended up with 2 or 3 of them that spent a lot of time with me, and we talked to a lot of like when we were at the care center. Omar, especially Omar, this translator, he was with me, and we're talking to this older guy and his story and how he come to find Jesus and his whole story. And Omar's over there just almost in tears. Well, the whole week went by, and Omar at the end ended up getting baptized. You know, amen. Yeah. So, anyways, there's everybody needs to come and go. It was just awesome. Anyway, that's all I got.
Hi. If my voice shakes, it's because I'm nervous and cold. So I think we kind of got used to the heat a little bit. Maybe that was just me, but ever since I got back, I've been really cold. So I don't know. Yeah. Well, for me, there was a lot of like really amazing things that happened on this trip. But I do remember before we went, this was my first time going. And before we went, I really honestly didn't really want to go. Like, I didn't want to leave. Don't tell Chris, but I wanted to stay home. And I am a really big homebody, and I get homesick very easily. And so I was pretty nervous about the trip. I just knew that I was going to be spent very quickly. But I think what made this so different is every time you walked into a room, you had kids like latching on to you, and you know, like 13-year-old girls would come up to you and like braid your hair, and that doesn't happen here. Like 13-year-old girls, I was a 13-year-old girl and I would not have done that. But the people are so warm and so loving, and it was one of the first times that I've been somewhere for that long and like wasn't homesick. It felt like home, and the people were so sweet, and I was just like shocked that whenever I left, like I missed the people, and if anything, it feels like reverse homesick. Like I want to go back. I miss all my friends, and one thing that really worked for me was just some of the workers there, like Carla and Carelli, they're sisters, and they run like the teams and kinder and stuff like that. And they were so intentional in their relationship with me. Like I got on the airplane and immediately I had like voice memos and, you know, long text messages. Like Carelli texted me like 4 hours later asking if I had gotten home. I was like, no, Carly, it's going to be a while. I'm not going to be home for a while. But she was like, are you serious? But they were so loving, and they still haven't stopped talking to me. They talk to me every day. And I think that we go on these mission trips thinking about how we can serve others. And that is what's important. And that's why we should be going, to serve others. And we don't, you know, it can be very difficult, very easy to get caught up in our own lives and our own problems. But through service to other people, I believe that I've been served like immensely. And whenever we don't focus on our own problems and we take a step back and look at the rest of God's people and how we can serve them, it becomes a lot easier not to be overwhelmed by our own burdens. And so I think that's one thing, is that I felt immensely blessed, and I felt like this opportunity to help others had helped me in so many ways. And so, yeah, I'm ready to go back. So, yeah.
So my POW was probably the hospital. Like, you know, you go there and you see like all these people that have been there for like months or weeks, and they're just not getting the help that they need. And it's just sad to see that. And it almost makes you feel spoiled, I guess. Because, like, you can go to a hospital and, like, maybe, like, in a few days, or it depends what you have, but, like, maybe a few days or hours or something, then you'll get the help that you need. But, like, they've been there for, like, weeks and months and still haven't gotten any help. And there was one kid in particular that had a broken leg, or I think it was broken. Yeah, I think so. He had this broken leg, and it was because his dad was very abusive, I think. And his mom and his little sister fled to the United States, but him and his older sister and his dad were there, and I can't really remember the reason, but the dad, I think the dad was like mocking the mom or something, like after she had fled or something like that. And the kid with the broken leg, he didn't have a broken leg at that point, but he was sad, so he tried to like run away, to, you know, be alone, I guess. And then the dad like comes after him, I think. And like I think he like grabs him and slams him into a wall or on the floor or something, and the guy broke his spine. I think that's what happened. His spine was slowly breaking or something like that. And so he tried to run away, but the dad was catching up with him. So he said something like he did what he thought was best, so he jumped off, he like threw himself off a cliff, I think. I don't know how high it was or any other details like that, but he said he threw himself off a cliff. Or, yeah, I think that's what he said. And his foot, whenever we were going to the hospital, like his whole leg was like wrapped up in the cast, and his I think one family member is allowed to be in there, like just one at a time is allowed to be with the people. And so his big sister, or his sister, I don't know which one was older, I'm pretty sure the sister was older, but his sister was with him. And after he finished telling the story about how he broke his leg, she showed us the x-rays in like his shin, the x-ray, like his shin bone. Oh, that was loud. his like shin bone or something or whatever you call it was like completely just like broken, and like in spite of his injury, he was still like grinning through the story, and I'm just like, how can you be like smiling in this situation? But yeah, that was my pal, like seeing all of that there in the hospital and them not getting the help they need. My wow was what? It was probably whenever we saw like all the we were going in the back of the hospital we're going like behind the hospital to give lunch to the people like that were waiting waiting for the doctors to tell them what they need to get, and some of them don't have the money for it, so they just stay out there and wait till I guess they get enough money or the doctors have extra or something like that. But they just wait there in the back of the hospital. And so we came to the back, and we came around back because we weren't, I guess we couldn't go up front for some reason. But I don't really know. But we were going in the back to give sandwiches and juice to all the people there waiting. And then after, or like maybe it was before, I can't remember, but we shared the gospel, or Dad did, and I could feel that, like the way that I saw that, the way the people that they were just paying attention and the expression on their faces and stuff like that, I could tell that a lot of them came to Christ that day, and it's amazing whenever you see a movement like that. And then my chow was definitely, without a doubt, Amy's, what did you call it? Like a honey bun cake? Yeah, it was so good. It was delicious.
That's what birthday said. Yeah, I know. It's how the cake. That's birthday said. So to start, Honduras was a great song. I encourage anyone that wants to go to go. It's pretty hot though, but it's it's worth it. You make all those relationships with like Sparrow and the other team, and all the kids too. But one of my favorite parts, well, it was an activity, was I got to ride a zip line over a waterfall, and getting to do that was pretty cool. Just getting to see that view. I'm afraid of heights though, so I thought I was gonna fall and die. But I'm here today, so yeah. So, but also I love getting to go to many different places too, and seeing the way God was working in those places. Like in the hospital, we got to see all these kids with their parents, and some of the parents had Bibles on the kids' beds, reading it to them, which I thought was really cool. And there was this one kid who had a bad motorcycle accident on that Sunday, which was 4 days before, and then he said he was very grateful that God had gave him a second chance, and he was going to start taking things more serious with God and start building a relationship with him. So I thought that was really cool. And also when we went to the men's rehab center, I think it was Vita, right? Yeah, and getting to hear Jeff and Nick's testimony there were very powerful, and just all the testimonies too as well were really powerful. But after their testimonies, when Pastor Jason and I went to go talk to everyone, he had asked them if anyone wanted to give their life to God right there. And like Jeff had said, like over half the people who did it, like it was just amazing to see that. Like all the people who'd raised their hands. But yeah, it was a great time. I know God's moving down there still, and I'm thankful that God gave me the opportunity to go and serve down there. And I enjoy like working with my team at Sparrow, and enjoyed the time I got to spend down there.
All right, so my pal was probably realizing that I'm not 19 and 20 years old anymore. I was just telling Clark that we had this pretty serious soccer match on actually 8 days ago, and I'm still sore, so it's rough. But it was a lot of fun. My wow 100% was seeing some of my students, like this kid right here, just stepping up and putting what we've talked about in class into action. Just sharing the love of God and the gospel with everybody down there. Also, I would say another wow was the worship service at night. It was really cool to see how some people were singing the songs in Spanish, but then others were singing it in English, but it was all in unison. And no matter what language you were singing the song in, God understood it, and it was beautiful. So to wrap things up, I'd say my chow was probably the chicken feet that me, Chris, and Aiden ate. It was pretty interesting.
They were the chicken feet were amazing. They were so good. To start it off, I'm gonna go powwow chow. For my pal, it was definitely just seeing the kind of the brokenness down there, and just how everything, like how we're so lucky to have what we have. And I think just a lot of conviction from being so ungrateful for the little things. And I know it may not be little, but like Amy was saying, the hospital, just being able, when walking in there, just seeing some of the things that like would have just like made someone go absolutely insane here if they seen that happen. Like I seen like them take like a needle and stick it in the bed, then reuse it. And I was just like, that may not be a big deal down there, but it just shows like how, fortunate we are here in the States just to have the safety and just like the health protocols that we do. For my wow, it would definitely just to be able to see the younger guys like Cade and all you guys, and watching you share your testimony. And I know that takes a lot of courage, and also Corey down there. All of them just, shining the love of Christ down there and just really engaging. I know at that age, for one, I would have never went on a mission trip because I would have been so scared. And just seeing them, just share their testimony too is like it was just so powerful to me. Them sharing like the most amazing gift that God gave them, one of the most amazing gifts. Just seeing them do that was just awesome, and just like seeing that boldness. And I know that was really uncomfortable, but I think that's another thing from this trip that, I took out of too, is just stepping out of your comfort zone. Just going out of the country itself is stepping out of your comfort zone. But just seeing like everyone on the team just, pouring their hearts out all week in the 105 degrees, sweating like crazy, and we all smelling on a bus. It was awesome. Not saying anyone smelled more than someone else, but I definitely smelled the worst. My chow would also be the chicken feet. They were a little like jelly, like it's just like you got to pick out the bones later though, like the knuckles inside of it. I can go in more detail if you want me to. I think I'll be quiet now before someone pukes. Oh, speaking of puking, a lot of us did do that on the way back. Hopefully no one's getting sick. But, yeah, that would be my pal, too, is definitely catching something on the way back and hitting the bathroom a couple of times. But, yeah, I'm going to pass the microphone.
Okay, I have a lot of wows from this trip. I think one of my favorite things, though, is just going back to the same place to see the same people that we've made connections with, and just building on to those relationships. They really are our family, and so getting to spend time with them and doing ministry alongside of them is such a blessing. Another wow for me was since we went with Sparrow this time, we were able to, like the youth sponsors 2 kids, and our family actually sponsors a child, and so we were able to like meet up with her while we were down there and hang out with her, and that was wow, that was really cool. I think there's a picture of our family with her. My pal, no one said it, so I will say the airport. Getting to the airport like 8 hours early on Easter night and having to sleep on the airport floor. Thanks. Tony. Is Tony out there? Thanks, Tony. No, it was good. It was okay. My chow. Okay, so when Carla came and visited our family, we asked if she would make pollo chuco while she was here. And it's a lot of work, but she did it for us, and she saw how much we loved it. And so her aunt made it for the whole team one of the nights while we were there. And they said that like they never do that because it's just too much work for that amount of people, but they did it for us, and it was so yummy. So that was my chow.
Miss Lori, I see you out there. Did you want to contribute, or are you gonna sit back there? Cool. Pastor Jason, you gonna wait for Sunday? You don't mind? Okay. Yeah, come on. But yes, we had a rough start. However, they did not complain. The team and yeah.
I slept great in the airport, by the way.
He's the only one.
Evidently, everybody else isn't working hard enough because you just go to bed wherever. It works good. So, yeah, no, it was good. I guess my pal would probably be the reality to me, I guess personally, of the difference in my life when I'm functioning in just kind of the normal everyday throes of life here in our hometown versus on mission, and just really the conviction and understand, like, we've got a lot of nursing homes. There's a lot of places and a lot of things that are very similar to what we did there, and just the reality of conviction to me of living on mission, wherever we're at, and just a conviction of that was really heavy to me. The wows, there were so many of those. It was really encouraging just to see how the Lord's working through the Sparrow Mission team and some of the pastors and leaders that are there that I got to spend a lot of time with, and even, I guess maybe one thing just personally, sometimes you think about difficult things you might go through or difficult things you walk through and how God can use those, and just saw some places where personally I'd gone through some difficult things in leadership that maybe somehow I was able to kind of lean in a little bit to some of their life, and so it's always a blessing to see that. I'm going to share part of this Sunday, but the one piece, I guess, that was just incredible to me was in the hospital, and we engaged there with a bunch of different people. We kind of drew some things out of a hat to figure out like where we were going to go in the hospital, and somehow I drew maternity. And when I got there, they thought that was a really bad idea and said you'd probably fit better in the men's wing, and so they swapped me around and went in and began to share the gospel with different people and just engage with them. And we had a short amount of time left, and so someone had come by the room there that I was in, and they said, hey, you've got like 15 minutes left. And so didn't know really where other people from the team had been and different things that were there. And so I come out of the room, and there's several rooms that are connected, and I'm trying to figure out where to go, and I'm thinking, well, they've probably got this one and this one and this one. So I, in my mind, just kind of randomly looked in, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in this room. And one of the guys that was in there went up to him, and he was bandaged up and began to talk to him, and I said, hey, so what happened to you? Motorcycle accident? You know, it's kind of been the normal response. And the guy looked at me and he said, I got shot 3 times with an AK. And yeah, that was my response too, probably. I was like, oh, that's different. And he had a Bible sitting on his bed. So I talked to him a little bit, and I said, so I see you've got a Bible there. I said, can you tell me about that? And he began to share, and he said that, once he had shared that he'd gotten shot 3 times, I said, I guess the Lord, really spared you, or I said something to that effect. And I asked him, I said, so tell me about the Bible. And he says, well, he said, I realized the Lord had spared my life. And he said, I've been trying to figure out who he is. And so he said, I've been trying to read. And I got his Bible, and I said, well, I'm a missionary from North Carolina that's here to tell you who God is. And I was able to begin to share the gospel with him, and took his Bible and would flip to different pages in Romans, and we shared the gospel. And he was visibly, very impacted from the beginning when I shared what I was there for. And we went through several verses in Romans, and he just was very, very impacted. And I asked him, I shared Romans 10:9, and I shared him, I said, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and being willing to turn from your sin and trust in Christ, and just surrender your life to him. Scripture, says if you believe with all your heart. And so I've got a picture. I didn't plan to share it tonight, but I've got a picture that I'll probably show Sunday as part of the message. But as he's surrendering his life to the Lord, he's got his hand on his heart, and just seeing him surrender his life to Christ. And for me, it was obviously an incredible moment to get to lead somebody to Christ in that moment. But I was thinking from his perspective, what it would be like to be shot 3 times with an AK, be sitting in a hospital room with a Bible and saying, God, I'm trying to figure out who you are. And then somebody to walk in, some bald dude from North Carolina, to walk in and share, that was the purpose there. And it's just a reminder to me that God is at work, and he is working all around us. And we've got a lot of opportunity to share and to engage with people, and I'm afraid so many times we miss it. Hola. So my encouragement is, just to be attentive and be on mission wherever you're at, and just be sensitive to the Lord because he's working. So.
Yeah, we're super grateful. And again, this is just kind of like the iceberg, the little tip of the iceberg of just stories of how God was using Sparrow Ministries, using other individuals, using this team, and really, I could have stepped back, Pastor Jason could have stepped back, and the adults could have stepped back, and these students would have just they did. They taught almost at everything, gave testimonies, shared scripture. The students really have just done a phenomenal job, and it's our heart to continue to see that and continue to be intentionally equipping all of our students from however young of age to however old to be sharing our testimony, because there's power in that, always being ready to share the gospel, and then how can we lead others through the scriptures and share the truth and the love of Christ. And so we're grateful for the opportunity. We're grateful for what the Lord has done there, but we also know this is our mission field here, and so we're excited for what how the Lord will use this team to be a catalyst to help continue to motivate the church and motivate each other in small groups to continue to be on mission. And it was neat. Yeah, we got to see God working through our team. We get to see God working through the translators. And if you hear the stories of Sparrow, so many of those that are now full-time staff and full-time working for Sparrow were translators who were once lost, translating the gospel for a bunch of gringos, and heard the gospel and responded to the gospel, and now they're leading different ministries. And so there's so much power in our testimonies. There's so much power in the gospel, and you never know who you're talking to or who you're standing next to or why they're there. But we know that they're there on purpose, and they need to hear the message of the hope of the gospel. And so, like, that was the greatest need in Honduras, and that's the greatest need here. Is it's not medicine, but it's the gospel hope. And so we have that, and they have that, and that's the beauty of just being on mission every day. And so, like Pastor Jason said, there's conviction there, but we need to respond to that. And I hope it's been an encouragement to y'all, and we're excited for the next trip that Logan's planning. So she'll have more details of that. She'll be leading our next trip. But I know there's a desire to continue to minister there, but we also have some different opportunities, and we'll have a vision trip to Clarkston, Georgia, at the end of this month. So hopefully there'll be some other open opportunities and open doors for some local ministry that we can go visit the nations in our backyard. And so we'll be sharing some of those updates and stuff along the way. But thank you guys. Find some of them and talk to them however long you want, unless my kids, because we're going to bed. But just kidding. But really, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of testimonies. So we'll continue to share, and we'll hear more from Pastor Jason on Sunday. But we really are just humbled for the opportunity to be on mission, and also convicted to be on mission today and tomorrow and every day that the Lord gives us breath in our lungs. So let me pray, and I'll dismiss you guys. But Lord, we love you. Oh, God, you are so good. You are amazing, God, and you work. And you just call us to be obedient. You are doing the work, but you've called us. You've chosen us as the church, as your body, as plan A.